voices of mothers like Mother Kevin to see that justice is done. Justice is done. And I want to say, those who are in a rush to join Ruto, that Ruto is a passing cloud. I am saying that without a fear of contradiction. Because Ruto now has no money. Because he's been borrowing. And the Kenyans have told him, you cannot borrow. Ruto has said no taxation. But he said he has continued to taxation. And he refused taxation through the finance bill. So he cannot tax Kenyans. Ruto has lost the confidence of the international community. So, where is Ruto going to take us? Ruto is taking us into a sinking ship. And I'm urging everybody that joining Ruto is a disaster, is an abomination. It cannot work. And nobody is going to tell us. Then when you are saying Ruto must go, when we say Ruto must go with all his people. And the entire government must go. Nobody is going to remain there.
That is the moment James Orengo told John Mbadi and the ODM team that were joining government that it was not going to be an easy ride. And he was saying that while ODM is right to probably take on joining government, but is already getting there and is only going to get a shell. I remember that confrontation between Orengo and Mbadi. There was that public clash between the two. Orengo has insisted on his. The narrative that William Ruto regime is defeated is something that has been here. And what should then worry the country is what Mbadi is now saying, that 48 clauses in the finance bill, there is a tax bill that is supposed to be taken to Parliament, and it's supposed to thrive on that deal between Ruto and Raila, so that it doesn't face hostility and taxes are returned. Some taxes in that finance bill. I also concur that there could have been taxes, there could have been clauses there that would allow government to scoop more. And how I wish that even as we talk about those clauses, we give prominence and we return the clauses that will govern tax exemption and tax evasion, so that if we can collect money, and I think I've analyzed, if we can collect the ordinary tax, the ordinary revenue from the billionaires in this country, then we will be able to reduce breaking the urge of breaking the backs of the hustlers. Because the challenge here is we are targeting much on the hustlers. Let's listen to this.
And some don't even have financial implication. Some just are aligning the laws. Eco-levy, we will target those areas that would not affect the common mwananchi. That those sensitive areas, like what was widely talked about, sanitary pads, etc., those ones we can't make a mistake, because Kenyans have spoken.
Okay, that's the new Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. What is it? Why are you laughing?
You know, Sam, you must also find it amusing. But one of the biggest opponents of the Finance Bill 2024,
yeah.
And one of the things that we found very contentious was the Econ levy.
Yeah.
For the CS now, a week into office to be telling us that is the right way to go. I mean, that's why when I was questioning, I was talking about things to do with double speak. People must be able to stand their ground firmly. And if you believe in something, let us know that you really believe in it. This Econ levy is a mistake. And I'll tell you why I say it's a mistake, because you cannot, a lot of times it is about because they're levying taxes on, I think, phones and computers. Actually, basically you're talking about all office equipment. So that means that everyone who's running a business in Kenya and has some little technology, they have to pay extra for that. That makes all the cost of their goods and services more. And we're talking about containers, like plastic containers that are used for carrying things like cooking oil. That again means that the cost of basic commodities, and that's basically what a way by which you can raise the cost of living. Something he was told by his predecessor. He was told very well that you have to be very careful. Kenya has a problem of cost of living and poverty. So and he was told, you do not, when you increase taxation, it doesn't necessarily mean that you collect more. So some of these things, for me, I think that's their mistake. But some, let me tell you, Kenya imports a lot of products, and these products come and are packaged in those plastic containers, like cooking oil. And I'll tell you that there are things that, and then of course we've talked about the equipment in the offices and all that. But there are people who argue that when you levy these some of these things, you make it more difficult for people to import, and maybe sometimes you support the local industry, which sounds very good. But basic economics teaches you a law on they call it the law of comparative advantage. That means basically that you as a country should concentrate your efforts on the goods and services that you have an advantage in producing. Kenya, for example, does not have an advantage in producing cars. Why would we be competing with Japan? If you are to build a V8 in Kenya, it would cost maybe 100 million. But Japan can do it for a fraction of the cost, and then we can import. But there are things that we as Kenya can produce that maybe Japan cannot. So the law of comparative advantage advises any economist who's worth their name in salt knows, advises any country to concentrate their efforts on the things that they can produce and import the others that they cannot, so that we balance out. So when you say that, we are going to levy taxes because we don't want people to be importing these things, we want to manufacture them locally. What if the standards locally are not good enough? Are you going to punish the Kenyans as you're building the capacity? So I think some of these things, let us just go to basic economics and sort out these issues. But for my friend, the honorable member, he must listen keenly to what he was told by his predecessor. Okay. He was told in increased taxes, you don't collect more. He was also...
Let's listen to that clip.
Let's hear that.
Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, the outgoing cabinet secretary, speaking about that.
From this notion that high tax rates will raise high tax revenue. The reality is the opposite. I don't want to mention who drives us there, but there are so many colleagues here to tell you exactly what we need to do. Because high taxes cannot bring you high tax revenue, what do we need to do? We need to study how we can optimize each tax instrument.
So, Jerry, there appears to be... I'll come back to you. Or what is it that...
I was just finishing off that thought, and then you brought it.
Okay.
Because I was saying that, he just said that he doesn't want to mention who drives us there. And one of the things that he said was that they require to build capacity in the treasury, and he doesn't have enough economists and all that. But I'll tell you that we are also aware that the State House has a number of economists, a council of economists that advise the president. And I've been wondering, so this group that is advising the president on economic matters, and Treasury has a CS who is a principal advisor of the president on matters economics. When those two conflict, then who does the president listen to? There is confusion in that ministry. My colleague needs to be aware, so he needs to figure out how he will make sure that those people that are in State House report to him, so that they can come up with one policy, so that we can move the country forward.
So this is what Mbadi is saying, that they want to return like eco-levy, and of course I've seen them saying a caveat on some specific goods that are essential, for example pads and pampers and all this and that. But those are the only ones. But these plastics, some of them are also used for packaging, and if packaging costs in companies are going to bulge, then it will have an effect on the prices of goods from those companies. Now, Kenyans have been taking to social media and warning government of a second wave of anti-finance bill protest if Parliament passes the tax bill that is supposed to be presented to Parliament. And let me tell you, the trap is being laid here. And if the ODM team are not careful, the Azimio, let's not say Azimio, it's all the DM. The ODM team are not careful, they are going to fall for that trap. I have seen a trend where it is only the ODM allied leaders, they are the only ones that are talking. They are the only ones that are saying we are defending X, we are defending this. They are the ones that are defending those taxes. And there was a very confidential report that UDA MPs were supposed to meet the Treasury, of course, were supposed to meet the executive, so that they can discuss on the return of that bill. But opinions are divided, as several UDA MPs feel that the government is acting desperate while they had made concessions. You know, William Ruto trashed that finance bill and then made some concessions and said, we will stop this and that. We'll stop roads. We'll stop new projects. We'll just finish ongoing projects. Apparently, most of the projects, and apparently even after saying that we'll stop these projects and we'll try to live within our means, the president was on another wave of launching projects that he had said he had denounced. So different experts are saying that the government is acting on a panic, and it's just exposing that even after saying we will reduce heed into the demands of the Gen Z, the president is slowly turning his back on that pledge and is taking a different direction. So the UDA MPs that are supposed to be really supporting this have not been going in public to support it, despite of a lobbying around the corridors for them to take that information to try to pacify the ground before such a bill is passed. But quite a number, especially the ones that voted yes, have been fearing the backlash from the society. So that is a bit of the challenge that they've gotten into. The government has been rooting to tweak the Article 37. That is where the right to picket and protest is anchored, so that they can outlaw or they can remote control protests in the wake of the current rage going on. The accountability efforts in the country, where the Gen Zs have been taking to the social media to ask pertinent questions. I analyzed you that they came from the street to tweets, and the tweeting Gen Zs have been asking government very serious questions on how matters are going on how things that they would want to achieve. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen an effort by the president to change his stand. And even church leaders, I think Anthony Muheria from Nyeri was warning and was asking the president that, please, can you heed to the calls of the Gen Z? And now you can see leaders, religious leaders, and Kenyans across the political divide have been saying, we can make any mistake, but we should not repeat the mistake of failing to listen to these young people, because we've seen the power in numbers. So in this podcast, I want to explain to you what is, why Ruto is quickly making that change, or rather, this move to even return the taxes despite of that bill being shut exposes one thing, that we are only depending on the tax. In fact, it exposes the narrative that government is broke. Someone was saying that before Treasury CS left, he knew that hapo hakukuwa na kitu. So he knew that Mbadi has just been given a shell there, an office to swing around, but not so much will be able to achieve. So there is something missing. I've always been saying there is something missing in William Ruto's economic template, and that is recouping money being wasted. We have a budget of is it 3.3 trillion? 3.9, if I'm not wrong. This finance bill in Mengusho had a budget of 3.9 trillion. And Musalia Mudavadi was saying that we are losing 509 billion per year on corruption. I really see that is very possible, because the billionaires in this country are not paying taxes. If you want to know things are not looking good, is you might really have to follow that Equity Bank haste. What is happening, and William Ruto is making a big political blunder. It's a big blunder. The young people are saying we will get back to the streets if you return finance bill. But you know why William Ruto is going against that? Is the State House believes the protests were being pushed by some force. That the protests were not Kenyans demanding accountability. So, because the protests were not being pushed genuinely by Kenyans who are pushing a genuine cause, they can be able to probably crash. And one thing I ask about it. I've seen Jim Wanjigi coming out public saying, I bought them water, I bought them flags, I paid bail terms for some of them who were there. And just that. And so if that is just one person, there are so many other Kenyans who also did. Even me, when Evans Kirato was killed, I also visited the family. We did collection under the board here. We were able to take, I think, around 50,000 to the family. So we also did our part of the work. I don't know whether that will be called supporting. There are those who also ran some kitty to support those who are affected. But Ruto believes that someone sitting somewhere, and this thing has been told for long, and probably they believe that now Kenyans have bought that narrative that, oh, so and so wanted to remove Ruto. And I've always been saying, if there are people that wanted to remove Ruto and so the protest was not organic, then why is it that no single person has been arrested over in connection to that? You know, it's only these young people that have been profiled here and there, the Gen Zs that have been profiled. But no one is in court. No one has been charged in court for plotting a coup against government. We were not alive, but if you read the stories of 1982, we were not born, but, okay, not me, I know most of you are born by that time. But if you read the stories of 1989 coup, Moi became ruthless. Raila had to leave the country. Some people were even hanged. Some people were put in detention for long. But this one, you've always been saying someone is behind it, but no one has been charged. Ruto has some confidence that police have mapped the crowd patterns and now the police can manage by simply barricading roads here and there. And I want to, yes, agree that the security team can manage, can be able to suppress. But look at the cost. You suppress, no one goes to work by that time for those days. You suppress, crowd surges, the violation of human rights, those police get fatigued, some rogue elements get there, they violate human rights, then people are killed or people are abducted and arrested. To that end, government loses its image. So there is no dividend on this. So while you can say because you can use, but you managed to block them from getting to town. And that was at the tail end where now the tension had gone down. I think Ruto is also taking some confidence that the broad-based deal can save the situation, and that's a false one. I don't know where someone is also telling the president that the government have some traction from the locals, and so he can get his way, maybe after making the rounds of, after making all that round of campaigns. So someone is telling the president that now people love you. So now what you say, what used to happen? The first year is after Ruto was brought to power, he came to power through euphoria and was really loved, by the way, by his supporters. So Ruto was like, if Ruto says yes, yes, yes. If Ruto says this. But the more people started becoming defiant, he lost even those people. And so probably someone is telling you that, Mr. President, don't worry, the people are supporting. So after making rounds and people clapping around, maybe he's being convinced that things are fine. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take.